What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another build video of our EB48 2.2. Today we're going to be working on bag K, which is going to be mounting the center differential stuff and our rear clip. Go ahead, start out with getting everything organized, and here we are jumping straight into the build portion now. So this is going to be a fairly quick video today, not a super duper massive bag. And we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to get our chassis brace mounted. There'll be a couple screws in the bottom of the chassis. Those should both be 4x12s. You can see what I do is I get the first screw started, then I get the second screw started. Once they're both started, you know that of course everything is in line. So you can go ahead and get it all mounted on perfectly straight without having to worry about the holes, of course, being off from one another. Next thing we're going to do is get our motor mount, the metal bracket portion of the center diff mount onto the car. This is going to use a handful of 4x10 flathead screws. So a little bit shorter than what we were just using in that chassis brace. And then of course, because we are going metal into metal, we are going to want to use some Loctite on that. So I get this one pretty much right at the tight point, but to where I can still have a little bit of movement side to side. That way, of course, I can get our other two bolts in. So you can see there, I go back and get the first bolt finalized, and then we can go ahead and grab our final of the 3 mounting bolts, get our Loctite on there, and then get it nice and cranked into place. Give it the extra ugga-dugga by hand there. And then we can go ahead and move over to our next portion. Now you can see I do a video cut there. This was the last take, or not the last take, the last bag I did of the night. So it was a little bit late. My brain wasn't working the greatest. So I mounted a couple things in the backwards orientation, which is easy to do. But I just made a couple video cuts there. So that way, of course, you guys couldn't see that. But I've exposed myself anyway. And I like to put that out there. That way, you know that even for me, a person who's built like 50,000 of these buggies, I still make mistakes, but it's nothing super duper crazy. Just a matter of unbolting and rebolting in, of course, the correct orientation. So you can see now we have our center diff all mounted in there, and we have the cover on. You'll have one long button head screw and then 3 smaller screws next to it. Those will be cap head screws. Apologies for the background noise there, but those will be 3 cap head screws, and they'll be 3x12s. Then we can go ahead and get our chassis brace all mounted together there. And then we can go ahead and take our rear clip, put our grease on there, get it all nice and lubricated. That way it's not just straight metal on metal. And again, just like when we did the front clip, I don't put any grease on it until this point, just so that way we don't make a super duper crazy big mess on the pit table. From here, it's just a matter of getting things keyed into place. The first thing you're going to want to go ahead and do is key the drive shaft into the outdrive of the center diff. From there, then you can key the C block into the chassis, and then we're going to use the 2 super long back screws to then hold everything into place. That way it's not just all flailing around. Obviously the suspension will flail around a little bit because there's no shocks on it, but it makes it to where the rear clip and the main center chassis are going to be effectively one piece, so it's a little bit easier to get everything else bolted in. So we'll have a couple more 4mm screws on the front side there. These ones will be a little bit shorter. Unfortunately, I don't remember the length of these just off the top of my head, but the super duper long ones definitely will go into the very, very 2 back. Move this back to the top side now. We can go ahead and get our chassis brace mounted on. So we'll key that into our diff case. You do have to make sure that you are in generally the right orientation. That way you can fit it in there. It is a bit of a tight space, but it does fit in just fine. So we'll throw those last 2 4mm button heads on the top there. Get that all mounted in. And then we can go ahead and take a look, see what we've got. Get that 2.5-bit going. Flip the car back over, and then we can put our final chassis brace screw in the bottom of the chassis. From this point, we've taken care of all of the 2.5mm head screws. We can put the 2mm driver back into place. We'll bolt the 2 diff case 3mm screws in. Get those guys nice and tight in there. And then these 2 will go into the C block. Again, because this is metal on metal, we will want to put a little bit of Loctite on this. That way, of course, we don't have any issues as we're going around the track. So got one more screw to throw in here. Get that Loctite on, line it up, and then give it a few Ugga-Duggas, and then we will be all set to go. Clean off any extra Loctite that comes out. And that will conclude us on our bag K here. So we've got our center diff mounted, got the rear clip, everything flows nice and smooth, and we're all set to go. We'll see ya in the next one.